ਵੈਲਕਮ ਟੂ ਦਿਸ ਐਪੀਸੋਡ ਆਫ ਦਾ ਹਰਪ੍ਰੀਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਸ਼ੋ। ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਸੈਗਮੈਂਟ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਮੁਲਾਕਾਤ ਕਰਾਵਾਂਗੇ ਮਾਇਆ ਤਿਵਾੜੀ ਜੀ ਨਾਲ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿ ਇੱਕ ਸਪਿਰਿਚੁਅਲਿਸਟ ਹਨ, ਆਯੁਰਵੈਦਿਕ ਐਕਸਪਰਟ ਨੇ, ਤੇ ਨਾਲ ਇਹ ਨਾਰਥ ਕੈਰੋਲਾਈਨਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਸੰਸਥਾ ਚਲਾਉਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਤੇ ਇਹ ਮੈਸੇਜ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਕਿਸ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਚੰਗਾ ਖਾਣ ਪੀਣ ਜੋ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਚੰਗੀ ਸੋਚ ਸਾਡੇ ਜੀਵਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਰਿਵਰਤਨ ਲਿਆ ਸਕਦੀ ਹੈ। ਇਸੇ ਸੰਬੰਧ ਵਿੱਚ ਅੱਜ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਆਇਓ ਸਾਡੇ ਮਹਿਮਾਨ ਮਾਇਆ ਤਿਵਾੜੀ ਨਾਲ। Welcome to the program.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Thank you so much. So
yes.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get, I would say, gravitated towards spirituality?
Well, coming from a Hindu background, and but born outside of India in British Guyana, we were able to maintain so much of the practices of sadhana in a country with less than 1 million people.
Right.
My journey started with the education from my father, but also after cancer. I had cancer at an early age, ovarian cancer at the age of 18. That really became my great guru as well. And having survived it at the age of 23, I returned to the motherland and studied Vedanta, Ayurveda, Sanskrit, etc.
Right.
With a great guru, Swami Dayananda Saraswati.
Okay.
He's still alive. He's the Tamil Nadu guru.
Okay.
But the journey has been incredible. Surviving cancer is one portion of unfolding a karma into a ways of health. I discovered that we have the power to heal ourselves.
Right.
And in that early education, I went back to India to study, came back and started the Wise Earth School of Ayurveda in North Carolina.
Right.
And that was in 1982.
Okay.
It actually was a precedent to many, many schools that have since opened in North America, and also influencing India back with not just the clinical form of Ayurveda,
Right.
but the grassroots form of it, which really takes us back to sadhana, which is the practice of invoking that which can heal ourselves from within, be they food or herb or
Right.
whatever. But mostly it has so much to do, Harpreet ji, with the mind,
Right.
with our emotional state or our psychic state, embracing our karmas, understanding what they are. They could be obstacles, but they're also challenges that help us to overcome our obstacles.
Right.
So this work is vast. We have trained thousands of practitioners,
Wow.
not just in North America, but also influenced organic Ayurveda going back to the homeland
Right.
of India.
So people from all over the world come to North Carolina and take your expertise and learn this particular field.
Learn the particular field. And as
Okay.
I say, we really prefer to be non-clinical. Not that we have a problem with clinical,
Right.
but I think that in Ayurveda, pure Ayurveda sends us back to the self
Right.
as being a sentient, self-organizing, self-generating, healing organism.
Right.
So in reclaiming that, yoga is not separate from that. Meditation is not separate from it.
Right.
Our daily sadhana, our daily practices are not separate from that.
Right.
So giving the individual the power to heal themselves.
We have that power, but probably we have forgotten that. We'll talk about this. Now, what we learn today and what we are seeing all over the world, the progress what we are making technologically, that's wonderful. But on the other hand, what we are finding is that we are going far behind. While we are living in the 21st century, probably what happened in the 19th century, that's what is coming, that greed, that selfishness attitude, individualistic approach towards life. So when we talk about diseases also, such kind of diseases which we have never heard of are, we are finding probably it's increasing in a big way. So what do you feel? What is the reason? Where is that lack when we have that power to heal ourselves? Why is it that we are not being able to understand this concept, and why are we degrading?
We're degenerating the process simply because we have misunderstood our participation as a human person.
Okay.
First and foremost, the humanity and the compassion that we carry has to be preserved. And being tied to gizmos 24/7, calling it the informational age when we can get one piece of noble news from here to India in 10 seconds flat, or we can get one piece of ignoble news from here to Australia in 5 seconds flat.
Right.
It is not so much about the age of information. We need to be able to understand that the information is within us. And if we are going to be continually distracted by commercialism,
Right.
by high tech, by every scientific device, that we are really actually working around the core of ourselves in a distracted way.
Right.
That the mind becomes more and more distracted, we can't depend on it any
Right.
longer.
Uh-huh.
So we are fighting, we are going after goals, we are going after the goals of prosperity, of affluence, of fame, of fast foods, of there's no such thing as healing in any of it.
Right.
Healing is a very simple metaphor. It's a simple practice.
Right.
And but we have to be able to pare down all of these angas, these additional addendums that we have in our life, and really
Right.
get back to the core.
So how to get back to the core, we'll talk about this, but before that, now you are in Canada on a tour,
Yes.
living Ahimsa tour.
Yes.
What is this tour?
Ahimsa, as you know from Gandhi's work, Martin Luther King's work, Mandela's work, that it is about nonviolence.
Right.
But in India, when Gandhi was practicing Ahimsa, and as you know, the Hindu and Jain traditions have practiced it from the beginning of time, we are looking at it, the Buddhist tradition as well. It's not just a tenet by which we live.
Right.
Ahimsa, we can call it the yoga of the mind.
Right.
You know, we're spending $30 billion in the yoga industry in America alone.
Right.
We have more than 20 million practitioners in the US, probably about 27 when we add Canada in
Okay.
with this. And yet we miss a very glorious point of yoga. It's not a physical exercise.
Right.
It is a way of engendering a better look or better body, but more importantly, it's a way of harnessing that mind back into the understanding that we can't just be running after the senses and the mind, but we want to be able to contain the self in a way we understand the basic principles of our living, our karma.
Right.
What is it that we are going after? What serves us? What makes us this peaceful individual? So
Right.
I translate Ahimsa as inner harmony,
Right.
because peace must start within ourselves first. We can't engender peace around the world,
Right.
peace among our communities or family members or country to country,
Right.
our neighbors, as in India and Pakistan, or in Palestine and Israel,
Right.
or in America and elsewhere.
Right.
We can't engender this peace unless we as individuals do what is so organic to us.
Right.
The state of inner harmony is within us.
Absolutely.
All
So
we
it's-
have to do is look at your beautiful ocean,
Absolutely.
the water, the grass, the flower growing,
Right.
and it evokes this incredible feeling of harmony inside of us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But you have to have that state of mind to be in that state of awareness, to understand and grasp what it all is.
But we all have that state of mind.
Right. So how we have to get to that, we'll talk about that.
Yes.
But we'll go for a short break, come back and we'll
Absolutely.
learn from
Thank
you both.
you.
Thank you. ਸੋ ਜੋ ਹੁਣ ਤੱਕ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਹੋਈ ਮਾਇਆ ਤਿਵਾਰੀ ਜੀ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਆਪ ਜੂਝੇ ਕੈਂਸਰ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਤੇ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਰਿਅਲਾਈਜੇਸ਼ਨ ਹੋਈ ਤੇ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਨਾਰਥ ਕੈਰੋਲਾਈਨਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਸੰਸਥਾ ਚਲਾਈ। ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਹਜ਼ਾਰਾਂ ਹੀ ਲੋਕ, ਲੱਖਾਂ ਹੀ ਲੋਕ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਇੰਸਟੀਚਿਊਟ ਵਿੱਚ ਆ ਕੇ ਬੈਨੀਫਿਟ ਲੈ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ। ਯੋਗਾ ਦੇ ਸੰਬੰਧ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਹਿੰਸਾ ਟੂਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਸ ਸਮੇਂ ਆਏ ਹੋਏ ਨੇ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਯੋਗਾ ਸਿਰਫ ਫਿਜ਼ੀਕਲ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ ਜਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਆਮ ਤੌਰ ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਮਝਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਇਹ ਹੈ ਇਨਰ ਹਾਰਮਨੀ ਦਾ ਕਨਸੈਪਟ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਗੱਲ ਕਹੀ ਕਿ ਜਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਗਾਂਧੀ ਜਾਂ ਮਹਾਤਮਾ ਗਾਂਧੀ ਨੇ ਜੋ ਕੁਝ ਅੱਗੇ ਲਿਆਂਦਾ ਜਾਂ ਮਾਰਟਨ ਲੂਥਰ ਕਿੰਗ ਨੇ ਜੋ ਗੱਲ ਕਹੀ, ਇਹ ਸਮਝਦੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਜਦੋਂ ਬੰਦਾ ਅੰਦਰੋਂ ਇਕਸਾਰ ਹੋ ਜਾਏ, ਸਮਝ ਜਾਏ, ਰਿਅਲਾਈਜ਼ ਕਰ ਜਾਏ ਕਿ ਕੀ ਮਕਸਦ ਕੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਹਰ ਇੱਕ ਚੀਜ਼ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਹਾਰਮਨੀ ਨਜ਼ਰ ਆਏ ਤਾਂ ਉਸ ਨਾਲ ਡੈਫੀਨਿਟਲੀ ਜੋ ਹੈ ਇਹ ਕਨਸੈਪਟ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਕੰਮ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾ ਸਕਦਾ ਹੈ। ਕੁਝ ਪਲਾਂ ਤੱਕ ਵਾਪਸ ਆਨੇ ਹੋਰ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਮਾਇਆ ਤਿਵਾੜੀ ਜੀ ਨਾਲ।
ਘਰ ਇੱਕ ਐਸੀ ਥਾਂ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਹਰ ਕੋਈ ਆਪਣੀ ਨਿੱਜੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਦੇ ਸੁਨਹਿਰੀ ਪਲ ਯਾਦ ਰੱਖਦਾ ਹੈ। ਉਹ ਜਗ੍ਹਾ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਉਹ ਰਹਿੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਪਿਆਰ ਭਰਿਆ ਜੀਵਨ ਬਤੀਤ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੈ। ਇਹ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਹੀ ਪੂਰੀਆਂ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਜਦ ਕਿਸੇ ਜਗ੍ਹਾ ਨੂੰ ਸਜੇ ਹੋਏ ਘਰ 'ਚ ਬਦਲਿਆ ਜਾਵੇ। ਨਵੇਂ ਘਰਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਫਰੇਮਿੰਗ ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਫਿਨਿਸ਼ਿੰਗ ਤੱਕ, ਡ੍ਰੇਪਰੀ, ਪੇਂਟਿੰਗਸ ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਡੈਕੋਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਅਸੈਸਰੀਜ਼ ਤੱਕ, ਤੁਸੀਂ SK ਹੋਮ ਡਿਜ਼ਾਈਨਸ ਦੀਆਂ ਪ੍ਰੋਫੈਸ਼ਨਲ ਸਰਵਿਸਿਜ਼ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਸੁਪਨਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਘਰ ਨੂੰ ਹਕੀਕਤ 'ਚ ਬਦਲ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। ਕੰਟੈਕਟ ਕਰੋ ਸੰਦੀਪ ਕੌਰ 6048259295।
ਵਾਈਸ ਅਰਥ ਸਕੂਲ ਤੋਂ ਆਏ ਹੋਏ ਸਾਡੇ ਮਹਿਮਾਨ ਨਾਰਥ ਕੈਰੋਲਾਈਨਾ ਤੋਂ ਮਾਇਆ ਤਿਵਾਰੀ ਦੱਸ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਕਿਸ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਇਨਰ ਹਾਰਮਨੀ ਜਦੋਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਹੋ ਜਾਏਗੀ ਤਾਂ ਉਸ ਨਾਲ ਅਸੀਂ ਅੰਦਰੋਂ ਸ਼ਾਂਤ ਹੋ ਜਾਵਾਂਗੇ ਤੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਹਰ ਚੀਜ਼ ਹੀ ਚੰਗੀ ਲੱਗੇਗੀ। ਇਹ ਲਿਵਿੰਗ ਅਹਿੰਸਾ ਟੂਰ ਜੋ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਏ ਨਾ, ਇਸੇ ਸੰਬੰਧ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੋਰ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਲੈਣੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਰੂਟਸ ਨਾਲ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਜੁੜਨਾ ਹੈ। So before the break, like you were mentioning about that inner harmony, and everybody wants to be peaceful, to have that bliss. But in this fast-paced life, we have considered just accumulation of things to be our purpose of life, and we're not understanding basically why we are here. So how does your work, like in this Living Ahimsa tour, what message are you trying to give? How to get connected to your core?
We have to make it a priority in our lives, Harpreet ji, because unless we recognize that we are looking for inner harmony, we're not going to invoke it.
Right.
If we have goals that come in conflict with that, then those goals, and they are important to us, we're not going to reach our space of inner harmony.
Right.
So like anything else that we set out to do, a farmer sets out to make the land the most fertile he can and to nourish and nurture it
Right.
with the seed that gives birth to the sustenance for humanity.
Right.
The same way we have to plant that seed within ourselves and bring it alive and water it every day through meditation, through taking a practice of a sankalpa practice, which is an intentional practice
Okay.
that says, I take the vow or the vrata of inner harmony, I make inner harmony my first priority, so that when we run into the neighbor, or we run into a conflict on the road and the highway getting here, or we get to work and run into a conflict with our co-worker or with our spouses or
Right.
children
Right.
or family or whatever. Let's say that someone is being taken advantage of, or that we have a conflict with our health, it is ill health or disease. All of it is conflicts. Everything that goes counter to the harmony of the self is a conflict.
Right.
So disease is a conflict too.
Right.
However, if we are to take that position, that self, and sit and say, I have fears, let me embrace them. Not let me try and dismiss the fears.
Right.
But I need to be honest with myself,
Okay.
embracing the fear. Whatever the obstacle may be, we know there is a divine power. Whether we call it Ishvara, Allah, Jesus,
Right.
Mohammed, whatever, we have a divine power. That divine power, most of all, is seated within the heart,
Right.
within the self.
Oh yeah.
So all we have to do is invoke that in whichever form we want to. And we invoke that and say, I have the fears, I will confront them. I have a disease, I embrace it. I don't feel happy about it, but I accept that I'm not happy about
Right.
it either. So the acceptance of all things is very important.
So basically what you're saying is to surrender to what is happening.
Absolutely. Surrender to what is happening, knowing there is divine grace.
Right.
Look, the gifts of consciousness and awareness do not come packaged with yellow and pink ribbons.
Absolutely.
They don't come in as gulab jamun for
Right.
us. But what they do come, they come in very complex packages that strip us to the core
Right.
and stricken us for all that is. And if we have the courage to surrender to that and say, I am stripped to the core, I'm just what it is right now.
Right.
So much cognition comes, so much information, consciousness,
Right.
the help that you need come to you because there are no barriers, you're not fighting.
Right.
We have an image of ourselves, each individual, and in that image we try to fill it with all the gook and the glory that we think is important.
Right.
And in the meantime, it's not a hallowed self, but a hollow self.
Right.
It's not whole, it's fragmented, it's broken.
Right.
And then we struggle.
Right.
But struggling is part of the human existence. I knew when I had ovarian cancer at 18 and had many processes, but was given up for dead at the age of 23 and was given morphine as a way out. And I said, no, my Indian, Hindu, Brahmin family, I would like to commune with the goddess now.
Right.
And actually, I didn't mind leaving early, actually. The fact of the matter is, we had so many conflicts.
Right.
Coming with my grandparents coming on those boats with the Brits all the way to the colonized islands of Guyana.
Right.
And it's a mainland, sorry. And then, struggling to, and even
survive.
though I was born in a
Right.
time when my father was extremely prosperous because of his own genius and noble spirit, at the same time, we carry these memories with us.
Right.
The fact that so many in North Carolina, where I am in the mountains of Asheville, so many Cherokee people have been eradicated from their homeland.
Right.
And 20-something years later, the prayers are so absorbed in that land because of the tears of the land. There are very few lands that are clean in North America, by the way.
Right.
And so the prayers get absorbed. But coming back to the point, the human body is so much like our mother earth and motherland. If there are crimes committed by our ancestors or whatever, if we are taken into this place, we carry the memory, the DNA holds that memory. We call it, what do we call the dhatu memory, the tissue memory. And in that memory, we form certain habituations. Our responses are almost dictated to us. You get older, you start sounding like your father.
Right.
Or me like my mother. But with these habituated response, we understand the tissue memory carried. What about this Satyamanandam Brahma?
Right.
This pure, incredible jnanam, consciousness of self.
Right.
We have that as well.
So we have to tap into it,
We
as you
have
said.
to tap into that,
Right.
and the Living Ahimsa work in terms of meditation, we also form a peace mandala where we take a vrata, or the vow of Ahimsa,
Right.
placing the organic grains upon Mother Earth,
Right.
asking for her blessing, asking for that, showing our gratitude to her,
Right.
remembering that, you know, kneeling down to the earth is a blissful thing, and that's why in our tradition we have pranam, we have gurus,
Right.
we have the symbols of intelligence,
Right.
because it helps the individual to shift to what is real.
Right. So we have to have that kind of understanding. We'll talk a little bit more about, after this break, about this tour also, what all is happening and how people can be involved. We'll come back after this short break. So ਹੁਣ ਤੱਕ ਜੋ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਹੋਈ, ਮਾਇਆ ਤਿਵਾੜੀ ਜੀ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਿ ਇੱਕ ਸਟਾਰਟ ਕਰਨੀ ਪਏਗੀ ਇਨਰ ਹਾਰਮਨੀ ਵਾਸਤੇ। ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿ ਕੋਈ ਬਾਹਰੋਂ ਚੀਜ਼ ਹੋਣੀ ਹੈ। ਇਹ ਕਨਸੈਪਟ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਰੈਂਡਰ ਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ, ਹਰ ਚੀਜ਼ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਵਿਸ਼ਵਾਸ ਰੱਖ ਕੇ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਆਤਮ ਸਮਰਪਣ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਸਮਝਣਾ, ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਆਪਣੇ ਜੀਵਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਲਾਗੂ ਕਰਨਾ, ਇਹ ਸ਼ੁਰੂਆਤ ਆਪ ਤੋਂ ਕਰਨੀ ਪਏਗੀ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਬੜੇ ਸੋਹਣੇ ਐਗਜ਼ਾਮਪਲਸ ਦਿੱਤੇ ਕਿ ਧਰਤੀ ਜੋ ਹੈ ਸਾਡੀ, ਇਹ ਧਰਤੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਮਾਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ। ਪਵਨ ਗੁਰੂ ਪਾਣੀ ਪਿਤਾ ਮਾਤਾ ਧਰਤ ਮਹਤ। ਇਹ ਪਵਨ ਅੱਜ ਖਰਾਬ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ, ਪ੍ਰਦੂਸ਼ਣ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈਗਾ। ਅੱਜ ਧਰਤੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਨਸੈਕਟੀਸਾਈਡਸ, ਪੈਸਟੀਸਾਈਡਸ ਪਾ ਕੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਭ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਖਰਾਬ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ। ਪਰ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਐਸ਼ਵਲ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪਹਾੜ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ, ਉੱਥੇ ਅਜੇ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪੁਰਾਣੇ ਸਮੇਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਉੱਥੇ ਪ੍ਰਾਰਥਨਾਵਾਂ ਹੋਈਆਂ, ਉਹਦਾ ਅਜੇ ਵੀ ਅਸਰ ਮਿਲਦਾ ਹੈ। ਤਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਬੇਸਿਕਲੀ ਇਹ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਿ ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੌਨਸ਼ੀਅਸਨੈਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਟੈਪ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਰੱਬ ਸਾਡੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਹੈਗਾ, ਜਦੋਂ ਇਹ ਸ਼ੁਰੂਆਤ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਤਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਈਗੋ ਕੌਨਸ਼ੀਅਸ ਨੂੰ ਖਤਮ ਕਰਕੇ ਉਸ ਗॉड ਕੌਨਸ਼ੀਅਸ ਨਾਲ ਜੋੜ ਸਕਨੇ ਹਾਂ। ਪਰ ਇਸ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਯਤਨ ਕਰਨਾ ਪਏਗਾ।
ਕਾਰ ਐਕਸੀਡੈਂਟ ਵਿੱਚ ਲੱਗੀਆਂ ਸੱਟਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਤਬਾਹ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੀਆਂ। ਫਿਰ ਵੀ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿਉਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਮਝਦੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਬਗੈਰ ਕਿਸੇ ਵਕੀਲ ਤੋਂ ਘਰ ਦੇ ਖਰਚੇ ਵੀ ਸੰਭਾਲ ਲਓਗੇ, ਸੱਟਾਂ ਦਾ ਇਲਾਜ ਵੀ ਕਰਾ ਲਓਗੇ ਤੇ ICBC ਤੋਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਹੱਕ ਦੇ ਪੈਸੇ ਵੀ ਲੈ ਲਓਗੇ। ਮੇਰੀ ਗੱਲ ਸੁਣੋ, ਕਾਰ ਐਕਸੀਡੈਂਟ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਕਈ ਸਵਾਲ ਉੱਠਦੇ ਆ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਸਵਾਲਾਂ ਦਾ ਜਵਾਬ ਕੌਣ ਦੇਊਗਾ? ਧਾਮੀ ਨਾਰੰਗ ਐਂਡ ਕੰਪਨੀ। ਅੱਜ ਹੀ ਫੋਨ ਕਰੋ 604-864-6131।
Once again, welcome back to the program. ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਾਥ ਦੇ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਮਾਇਆ ਤਿਵਾੜੀ ਜੀ। ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਲਿਵਿੰਗ ਹਿਮਸਾ ਟੂਰ ਜੋ ਹੈ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਏ ਨੇ, ਆਓ ਇਸ ਸੰਬੰਧ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੋਰ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਲੈਣੇ। So before the break, like you said, you have to tap into that consciousness and just surrender, accept as things are. It's a difficult path, and especially when we see in this fast-paced life, people are just running after things to accumulate more and more. But irrespective of the fact, like there's a saying that whole of your life you are spending earning that money, and then later on you are spending that money to just
Get your health back.
So right now it's a major crisis. Now you are on this Canadian tour. So in this Living Ahimsa tour, again, what are you emphasizing upon? How can the people be involved in this, and what benefit can they get?
The benefits are many, but let's go to the process. The process is that we become clear on the goal that we are a living power that has the power to heal and the power to create the kind of life that we want to bring to us. If we want abundance, we can get that as well, but it comes with a great deal of responsibility.
Right.
In order to protect ourselves, we must first accomplish an understanding that we are spiritual beings.
Right.
Having a human experience. And in the human experience, there's so many things, and we have to be clear on what it is we want to gain for ourselves and our family.
Right.
Is it harmony? Is it peace at the end of the day? Is it good sleep?
Right.
Is it good food, good nutrition? And are we connected to the earth as a whole? Yes. Are we connected to each other? Yes, in the one of it all. And so we get back to what becomes a simpler, we pare down our needs. We don't become just chauffeurs to our children at a certain age and take them to 200 activities and buy them every product that is competitive with their friends' products. But we actually steer our ship in a way that is clear water. We go back to our own ancestral bearings in terms of what protects us, what is simple, what is gratitude to Mother Earth for good food that is not sprayed, that is wholesome nutrition.
Right.
What is simpler, that if I must eat for myself, I must eat for humanity as well. And so too, if our affluence is shared by each other and humanity, when I have a pain and I am stricken or broken in some way, the whole of humanity is also broken in some
Right,
way.
right.
So we're never alone. This is a very important factor in meditation.
Right.
In the Living Ahimsa meditation, we learn that we're not alone. We learn that there is just this amazing supreme intelligence, the divinity, we call it God or Goddess, within us. And it starts to build faith, because once we start having small micro experiences of embracing, and things start to open up and we begin to feel better,
Right.
because we have surrendered, then we start taking larger steps in this direction that preserves our well-being and our intuition, our peace, and our harmony. So the practices are Living Ahimsa meditation. We create a peace mandala.
Right.
We have the community all together, understanding we are a community of one. We have satsangas in the evenings,
Right.
where we share, where people ask their questions about their own life trials, and they get their answers.
Right.
Most of all, we hold that light and that energy in
Right.
place to be able to shift everyone.
Right.
With it, because we are all instruments of light.
Right.
We are none of us greater than the other. We have chosen different paths, but each path is remarkable, because
That's right.
if we're true to it, it is remarkable.
Right.
If we're not true to it, it doesn't matter. It's just false.
That's a question of truthfulness, how to understand that it is a true path or a wrong path which you have adopted. But the question is, I have so many questions, but time is limited, so I'll just ask you one or two more things. One is that religion was a source where it should have united people, but today what we are finding is religion is creating more problems for the people. So when you see religion as such, and you also have shed your robes of the Ved Vyasa
This
tradition,
one.
and probably lots of pointing fingers and other things must have happened. So according to you, what is religion, and what would be your message towards the end to our viewers today? Finally, something concrete. There's so much, but something concrete.
God has no religion. And any faction of belief system that tears us apart is not going to serve humanity.
Right.
Therefore, we must figure that out for ourselves. The gurus are great, God is great. However, we must understand our greatest guru is within our heart and our own consciousness, our own
Right.
sense of fairness and justice. Food for one must be food for all.
Wonderful. Great. And if anybody wants some more information, where can they get this?
ahimsalifecanada.ca.
Okay, that's your website.
That is the portal for Canada.
Okay.
For the Canadian tour. And we're going to be in, I think, about 40 venues.
Wonderful.
In many different cities in Canada. And I hear you broadcast in other cities too.
Yeah, it goes all over Canada, yeah.
So we have Winnipeg and Ottawa and Toronto. Yes.
It was a pleasure having you. There's so much to ask, but time is limited. Nevertheless, your pearls of wisdom are really appreciated. Thank you very much and best wishes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Namaste.
ਸੋ ਜੋ ਅੱਜ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਉਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਮਾਇਆ ਤਿਵਾੜੀ ਜੀ ਨੇ ਅਖੀਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਹੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਰਿਲੀਜਨ ਰੱਬ ਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਧਰਮ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ। ਰਿਲੀਜਨ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਇੱਕ ਪਰਸਨਲ ਅਫੇਅਰ ਹੈ। ਆਪਣੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਟੈਪ ਕਰਕੇ ਫੇਅਰਨੈਸ ਦਾ ਕਨਸੈਪਟ, ਜਸਟਿਸ ਅਤੇ ਹਰ ਇੱਕ ਨੂੰ, ਜੇਕਰ ਜਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਫੂਡ ਫॉर वन इज़ ਫੂਡ ਫॉर ऑल, ਸਿਰਫ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਨਾ ਸੋਚੀਏ। ਇਹ ਜੋ ਜਹਾਨ ਜਿਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਏ ਹਾਂ ਉਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣਾ ਕੀ ਯੋਗਦਾਨ ਪਾ ਕੇ ਬਿਹਤਰੀ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਇਸ ਬਾਰੇ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਸੋਚੀਏ। ਸਕਰੀਨ ਤੇ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਹੋਈ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਵੈਬਸਾਈਟ ਹੈ, ਇੱਥੇ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਹੋਰ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨ ਮਿਲ ਸਕਦੀ ਹੈ, ਕਿਹੜੇ ਸ਼ਹਿਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਹ ਸਤਸੰਗ ਹੋ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ, ਤੇ ਹੋਰ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰਾ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨ ਜੋ ਹੈ ਇੱਥੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਲੈ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ।